hear me loud, but let me share my screen real quick here for you guys. Okay. All right, so hopefully everyone here can see my screen right now. What you should be seeing is, instead of a big picture of my big old head, you should be able to actually see my screen. Let me just go here 1 second. Okay. All right, so again, everyone should be able to see my screen. The reason you guys all here is for our cashing in on your garage, utilizing the internet to make money series that we're running today and tomorrow. I'm just gonna make this full screen for you guys so you can kind of see it a little bit better. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming. This is the first time we've ever done any of this. So hopefully this runs pretty well for you. I've done a run through for myself, so hopefully it's very informative for you guys. Some of you might know me. I have no idea. I am around a lot at a lot of different things we do, but my name is Ian Downey. I am the Senior Manager of Customer Relations here at RacingJunk.com, which is just a fancy way of saying I run the membership and customer service department. I started working here at Racing Junk in 2007, so I've been here a while, and that's really the reason why we are here. It's the reason why I'm here today. Basically, I've had the privilege over my time working at Racing Junk to attend a lot of shows, races, trade shows, car shows, whatever it may be. And more importantly, I've spent a lot of time on the phone or via emails talking and interacting with our users. And what I've learned over the years is I have a lot of information that I have gathered that I say to a lot of people one-on-one, whether it's at a show or on the phone with someone or emailing someone back. And so what we kind of thought is with the day and age that we're in, with a lot of webinars going on, that it'd be a good time for me to give that information to you guys. And that's kind of why we're here today. Hopefully you find it informative. And again, if you have questions, you'll be able to ask them. So just a quick update before we really get into it. With everything that's going on nowadays, we are still here. We are open. Our hours have not changed. We're still here 8:30 to 5 Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And not only are we here, we've been working hard. We've actually launched 2 new categories, off-road and overland, and sports and outdoors. We are also launching a new membership level called the Fan Club, which is geared towards browsing. Hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything tests out correctly, that will be launched on Thursday. And then, as always, we constantly have giveaways going on. We have 5 current ones going on right now. So feel free to check out any of that stuff after the series. Also, again, this is a webinar. We are recording this right now. So therefore, if for whatever reason you need to leave early, or you missed something because you had to, go grab a drink or whatever it may be, we are recording this and you'll be able to watch it afterwards. And then also, if you're using the app and stuff like that, there is a chat functionality where you can ask questions. One of my coworkers, Andriana, is actually on this call with all of you also. So afterwards, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring her back on, and hopefully she'll be able to look through some of your questions, and I can give you guys some answers. Okay. So, as I mentioned, so this is a 2-part webinar series. So today what we are actually going over is preparing to sell your item. We're going to go over identifying, prep, and preparing your ad. And then tomorrow we are going to go over posting and managing your ad. So let's get into preparing your ad to sell. So, series 1. So what are the steps of preparing to sell your item? I've identified kind of 3 steps that you'll want to follow. The first of which is identifying your item. The second is preparing your item, and the third is preparing your ad. So the first one, deciding what you want to sell, identifying what you want to sell. So for a lot of people, this can sometimes be the hardest part. And there's a lot of reasons why that may be. A lot of things I hear is, there's sentimental reasons. You might not want to get rid of something. It might be because you're a collector of stuff and you just don't want to get rid of it. But it could be as simple as you just don't know how to sell it, which is part of the reason why I'm here, is to guide you through that. On the right-hand side there, you'll notice that there are some ways that you can use to identify if you have an item that you should sell. These are all things that people, when I'm talking to them, that they've told me reasons why they're selling stuff. I'd say the biggest reason that we get is that first one is that they no longer use it or need it. Say we have people getting out of racing. That's one of the biggest reasons why they might have stuff to sell. But that's not the only reason. That's not the only thing. And again, we all have stuff in our garage that we have to sell. Maybe some of it's performance based, which would be great for us, obviously, being racingjunk.com. But it doesn't just have to be performance based. It could be anything in your garage. It could be a set of golf clubs, whatever it may be. It could be some hunting equipment or some camping equipment, whatever. We all have stuff in our garage that we could turn into money. Things on the right hand side there. All those are reasons why you want to do it. One that people don't think of is you might want to upgrade something. Let's say you have a project car and you have a engine and you don't have the money right now to buy that $10,000 engine. What people can do is they can take that $4,000 one, sell it, so that way you have some cash, to get to that $10,000 engine that you might want. The one here on the bottom the reason I put them there is because I actually get a lot of people who call in, and that is their reason, is that their significant other wants the garage cleaned. They're sick of their cars, been sitting out in the weather for years, and they just want to be able to pull it in the garage. So again, if you look at those things on the right hand side there, any of those are reasons to identify something and that you can eventually make money off of. So again, you'll want to go through your garage. Do you not use it anymore? Maybe you have something that you've just held on to for too long because if hold on to this. Again, that's something that you'd be able to sell. So once you've actually physically identified your item, what you want to do is start to prepare your item. There's two things that you're going to want to do. The first of which is inspect, and the second of which is to clean it. When you're inspecting it, does everything work? When you're cleaning it, make it look good for the potential buyer, and also make it look good for pictures. So we're going to go through each of these two items here. The first of which is inspecting. This is probably the most important step, honest with you, because you might, and it's broken, obviously you can't sell it. But not only that, if you use cars, for example, say you inspect it and you realize something's broken on it, you're going to want to replace that, or at the very least know that it needs to be replaced. And the reason why you want to do that is if you look on the bottom there, let's say your item needs new tires. You're going to have to decide, am I going to put new tires on, or am I going to tell the person that it needs new tires, or know that the person's going to need to put new tires on? If you put the tires, they're going to need to replace the tires, maybe you take a little bit off, or you use that and you're negotiating. When you're talking to the person, you can say to them, hey, I'll put new tires on, but I'm going to have to add, $600, $800 onto the price. Or, hey, if you take it as is, I'll knock it down $400, whatever it may be. This is also a great time while you're inspecting stuff to start gathering some important paperwork. Any titles you have on the item, any receipts or certifications or awards that you may have, all stuff that potentially in the future a buyer might ask to see. And ultimately, the reason why you're doing this is you want to have happy customers or happy buyers. You don't want that unhappy. The last thing you want to do is to not inspect an item, send it to someone. You think, oh, I've collected my money, my hands are clean, we're all set, ready to go. And then next thing you know, that person's calling you again because lo and behold, they found something wrong, something was broken, it didn't work correctly. The more you can be upfront with someone, and the more, again, better you can prepare the item to be sold, the more happy the person will be in the end, which also will make you happy in turn. Cleaning your item. The reason I put this on here, and it seems pretty simple, is, there's two reasons for this. One is you want to make sure your item looks good in pictures, and we'll talk about that later on. But by cleaning it, you're going to make sure that your item is prepared to look good in pictures. But the other piece to this, and I think it's a little bit of an unrated piece to this, is no matter what a person is buying, whether it's new or used, that person wants it to feel new to them. And if they're buying a used item and it's not cleaned and they receive it, there's going to be a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth. And they're probably, let's say they find something wrong with it, they're probably going to contact you more if they feel like it was really a used item versus, you really cleaned it and you got all the dust out of it and you polished it up and you sent it to them. They might not even call you. They might realize, you know what, this is pretty well kept. This is something they couldn't do. I'll handle it my own. So again, it's all about making sure that in the long run, you have happy customers in the end. But again, in the short term, you by cleaning it, you're going to make it so that way it's going to be available for pictures. So step 3, preparing your ad. There's 3 things that I've identified here, as you can see there on the right-hand side. But basically, once you've identified your ad, once you've prepped your ad, what you're going to want to do is start actually physically preparing your ad. And there's 3 areas that we're going to talk about right now. We're going to talk about taking pictures. We're going to talk about research. And we're going to talk about actually starting to type up your description. All these things, the reason why I put them in there is it's going to make your posting and your selling experience better. So taking pictures. So every potential buyer obviously wants to see what they're buying. It's hard for someone to justify sometimes a price of something without physically seeing what they can buy. And if you're selling something to someone across the country, which for RacingJunk.com, we are worldwide. We are worldwide. Pictures are important for people before they decide to pull the trigger, give you a call, and potentially buy your item. So people are going to want to see what they're buying. And I will tell you right now that this is when people are looking to buy an item, the pictures is the place that they spend the most amount of time. Yeah, they might read your description. Yeah, they're going to look at your price. Maybe they'll look at what type of a seller you are, but they're going to constantly go through your pictures to see, okay, does that price justify what this person is showing me right now? And the thing that I say to people when they call me all the time is, the more photos will lead to quality leads, and quality leads will lead to quicker sales and less wasted time. And what I mean by that is, if you don't do a lot of pictures, what's going to happen is people are going to request them, which means you're going to have to upload them. You're going to have to send it to them. They're going to have to look it over. It's just a lot of wasted time. If that person ultimately decides, "Ooh, it's not for me," you've not only wasted their time, but you've also wasted your own time. So the more photos you can actually put on your ad, the quicker you will actually sell something and the less wasted time you'll actually have. On the bottom there, you'll see that I do have some photo tips for you, some kind of do's and don'ts, and things to consider, things that you want to consider when you're taking photos. And again, a lot of this stuff, you can go and Google it. Google is an incredible tool, and they'll, there's tons of information out there, but these are the photo tips I like to give people when they call into me and say, all right, I have a gallery of photos I want to put up. What do I need to do? So location, weather, lightings, angles, and the amount of pictures are the main ones I talk to people about. And we're going to kind of go through some of those real quickly and show you some examples. But on the bottom there, you'll see that I have a don't. And this is very, this is something you want to pay attention to, or use other people's photos. A lot of people will call into the website and they will say to me, "Hey, I bought this item off your site 3 years ago. I want to sell it. I've done a lot of upgrades to it. I want to sell it now. Can you give me those photos?" And my simple answer to them is no, I won't do it. And the reason for that is you're setting yourself up for legal issues if you use other people's photos or you Photoshop your items. Because if you represent something that's not true or not yours, you can run into legal issues. And that's the last thing that you're going to want to have happen if you're selling something. So again, Photoshop, let's say you have that scratch or your dent in your car. The last thing you want to do is to use Photoshop and mark that up and make it look like there's no dent there anymore. You're also going to want to, if you're using other people's photos, if someone finds that use their photos, again, there's legal things they can do. They can contact you. They can make you take it down, or they can sue you. And again, this is all about making sure your selling experience is good. And if it is, if you follow these tips, you're going to ultimately make sure that when you actually sell going to come back and say something to you. So let's go into some of the tips that I'm talking about here. Location, weather, and stuff like that. So location. Here's some examples. Obviously, they're pretty drastic, but to be quite honest with you, you'd be surprised how some people just don't think of some of these things. So the examples here on the top are good location examples, while the examples on the bottom are not very good. On the top there, you'll see where the pictures of the cars, for example, people really wanted to make sure, the location that they chose, there's not any other vehicles, the lighting's good, the background is very good. Obviously, the one in the middle of the parts is a pretty good professional picture where they actually have everything laid out nicely. It's a white background, so you can really see all the items. The pictures on the bottom, on the other hand, you can see that those people did not care. They just wanted to quickly get a picture of their vehicle or get a picture of the parts so they could throw it up and hopefully sell it. And again, this is all about creating the opportunity to make sure your selling experience is good. And if people are looking through all the, if you're selling a 55 Chevy and they're looking through all the pictures, you're going to want to, they're going to look at the first impression, that first thumbnail. And as they're scrolling through, they're going to look at those ones on the top, and they're going to click into those first before they even think about clicking through the ones at the bottom. So location does matter. Lighting. This is something that sometimes people don't think about. Lighting is a big deal. As you can see on the left-hand side there, that's a good picture of a car. Location, probably not the greatest because there's stuff in the background, but when it comes to actual lighting of the vehicle, it's good. You can see that there's no glare. There's no shadow over the car. Where the one on the right, there is a clear glare from the sun. And again, a lot of this stuff will matter depending on what time of the day you do it. A good overcast day is a good day to always use when actually taking pictures. When you're actually thinking about the time of day, the morning or afternoon or kind of evening are good also. And again, this is all information that people have shared me over the years when when I've gone to car shows and people have taken pictures. That's when they like to take their pictures. So lighting does matter. Angles. That one on the right is one that I see a lot. That's a cool picture. No one's going to say that's not a cool picture. The problem is when you're actually going to sell something, it's not a good angle. That angle, as cool as it may be, it doesn't really show what the car actually looks like. Where that one on the left, you can clearly see what type of car it is, first of all. And you can actually see, all the different details of the car. Where that one on the right, as cool as that picture may be, you might not even, for some people, they might not even know what that vehicle even is, depending on the angle. And then when we're talking about angles, you're going to want to do, 45-degree angles coming from those, down the side of the car. You want to do from the front, from the back. You're going to want to do interior, exterior. You're going to want to do close-ups, of the dash. You're going to want to do, if, let's say you did put that new engine in, you're going to want to pop that hood, take a good picture of that engine. And later on when we talk about research, you're going to be able to actually see that when you're doing your research, what other things people took pictures of also in different angles. And that's all stuff that you'll want to mark down. So when you actually go to take your pictures, you'll want to do those same angles. So I just mentioned research. So this is kind of a good segue into this. Doing research is important. And there's two main reasons for that. One, because you'll be able to put what information you should include in your description. And also two, you'll be able to set your price point. Now the information that you should include in your description, while you're actually, going over and trying to decide what you should actually put in there, you know your item the best. You know exactly what makes your item stand out. Also, when you're researching, you're going to want to research multiple sites to figure out kind of where that baseline is for your price point. Kelly's Blue Book and Naviguides are two great places for cars to kind of figure out where that base points to be, and then depending on how your item compares in terms of mileage or restorations or overall condition, is where you might either have to either adjust your price up or down. When you're once you've actually let me go back a little bit here, but while you're doing all of this research into your price point and your description, stuff like that, you just want to make sure that when you're getting ready to actually do your description, which we almost got to there, that you can write it out in a way that you're selling it to a potential buyer. Okay. And again, a lot of the stuff will change depending on your research. So writing your description. Writing your description will help your posting experience. And the reason for that is because, what happens a lot of times, especially on our website, is people start posting an ad and ultimately they end up not finishing their ad because they get to the description part and they start trying to type it up and they don't remember either what, when they bought something or, what they put on or whatever, and they got to constantly go back and forth. And ultimately they end up then having to cook dinner and then they don't finish the ad and, they don't put it up later on. So if you start writing your description now, that will help you when you actually physically go to post, that you quickly put it up on the site and it's up ready to sell. Again, I kind of mentioned this before, but you are the expert in your item. You want to make sure you include what you know about your item. So if you, the way to think about this is if you were going to go buy that item, what would you want to know about it? Because you're the expert. And that's what you're going to want to include in your description. You're going to want to include all of your car's options and data. You're going to want to, if you're selling a part, for example, what other cars does it apply to? What makes your item or your vehicle stand out? Is there a history behind it? Is there a unique story you can say about it? And then ultimately, what are the physical differences that you've done? Did you change the bumper? Did you put different tires on? Did you put a lift kit in? Did you change out the engine? Did you convert it to a leather interior? Whatever it may be, all that type of stuff is what makes your item unique, and that's what you're going to want to put in that description. And then lastly, and this is very important, is you're going to want to proofread. Proofreading is something that I think all of us, including myself, we don't do enough of, because so many things correct stuff for us that we just assume it reads correctly to someone. But again, this all goes back to making sure you're not wasting people's time, and your selling experience is a good one. We get people all the time that call and say, hey, I spelled a word wrong. Hey, I forgot to put this in. Hey, can you change this for me? And the reason for that is because they didn't proofread their stuff beforehand. So therefore, they went through, they put the description, they post the ad, they go and look at it, a day later, whatever, and they realize, oh, I spelled that wrong. And then now they're having to contact us to actually, change that for them. So again, if you kind of do all those things right there, when writing your description, you're gonna create a really good description that ultimately is something that sells. Now, this is a quick description that we found. Didn't take me long to find a good description. The reason why I chose this one was a couple different things. I highlighted some things in it, but basically, this person is selling you why you want to buy this item. What I liked about it is right off the get-go, it's telling you that it's unique because it's the last model year for short wheelbase 2-door full-size SUVs. I liked in the middle how it's telling you that the white paint has a nice gloss, because maybe in the pictures you can't tell that the paint has a nice gloss. Then it started getting into what makes it different. It has tinted windows. It upgraded the 20-inch KMC alloys to finished in black. I really liked at the end of that first paragraph that this person told you about the trailer hitch, and really showed you, to envision, how you would actually use this item. And then obviously, later on, in that third paragraph there, it started talking about the engine and kind of a lot of the stuff that it did to make the item, different from other people who might be selling the item. So again, this is a description that sells. Then there's descriptions that don't sell. And again, we see a lot of these. I see descriptions that are literally just call for details. again, no one's going to pick up and call you first. They're going to call those other people that they like their, all the cool things that they've added to it. So, again, this description here leaves you with more questions than answers. And you're going to ultimately, if you're choosing between these two people, you're going to choose that first person rather than this person. So, let's just review some of the stuff we went over here. Cause I know that was a lot, but really there's three things that you're going to want to do ultimately before you actually post an item. The first of which is identifying your item, go in your garage, find those things that can make you money. You're going to want to prep your item, by inspecting and cleaning it, making sure things work, making sure it's prepped and ready to go for people. Then you're going to want to start preparing your ad, by taking those pictures, doing research, and physically typing up your description. Again, I know that was a lot of information. Hopefully it was very informative for a lot of you. I think we're about maybe a half hour in or so. But ultimately, once you do all that stuff, you're ready to go. You're ready to actually start posting your item to a website. If it's performance related, hopefully you put it on our website. But if it's not, if it's that set of golf clubs, hopefully you can use everything I just gave you to sell your something on a website that applies to you. So I'm going to bring Adriana back in here. Hopefully she's been looking at the chat. Maybe there's some questions that you guys have. And I'm going to bring Adriana and hopefully I can answer some questions for you guys. Adriana? I think she's here. Maybe she's still muted. Let me see. Maybe I need to unmute her. Hold on. Let me get off this full screen here. And Adriana was still muted. Let's unmute her.
There
Adriana,
we go.
There we go.
Thanks, Ian. Okay, so we don't have any direct questions, but if anyone does want to answer anything, feel free to type them into the chat and I'll send them to Ian. Chuck asked if tomorrow's meeting is at the same starting time. It is not. Is it at 3 p.m. Eastern?
Yep.
We had to work around a little bit of timing, and so it is an hour later. Again, if people can't attend, then we will still be providing the link to the recording. We'll also be providing kind of a breakdown of the tips that will be sent to everyone who signed up. So if you had friends who signed up and they missed it, tell them that they will also be getting some of these tips in their email. And if people still want to sign up for tomorrow, I still think we have a couple of spaces left. So feel free to encourage them, and we will also send you tomorrow's meeting if you can't make it. So anybody else have questions? Again, please leave them in the chat. We'll leave it open for a couple more minutes before wrapping it up. Other than that, that's all I've got.
I still got about 7 minutes, so I can blab here a little bit. First of all, I want to apologize if anyone could hear my child that just woke up from a nap in the background. I apologize for that. Maybe you didn't, which is awesome. But like many of you, Racing Junk has converted to working from home. So I did have one of my kids waking up from a nap, not very happy. So hopefully you could hear me and not her waking up unhappy. I think ultimately, Adriana, I hope people are able to not only apply this to posting stuff on Racing Junk, but also, any stuff. I mean, obviously, here at Racing Junk, we talk performance related items. But really the stuff that I just talked about, can be applied to anything. I think people would be surprised how much stuff they probably have sitting in their garage that they could sell.
Ian, can you give some examples of that? Actually, even things that are vehicle based that they may not think of that they can sell on Racing Junk or just in general?
Yeah. So I mean, I'll start general. I mean, the thing that I, just recently sold was a set of golf clubs, and that's probably why I said it during the when I was going through stuff. But it really can be anything. I mean, in my garage right now that I can think of, I have an old lawnmower I could probably sell because I recently just bought a new one. Again, that's that whole upgrade thing. I have an old snowblower I could probably sell. When it comes to actually performance related items, the nice part about racingjunk.com is we have, I believe we're up to 43 different categories on racingjunk.com. So really anything performance can be sold as long as it works. And the thing about the performance industry is sometimes people don't want to pay full price for a brand new item. They might not have the money, or maybe they don't want to invest that much in something yet. So
someone wants to buy your lawnmower, Ian.
Well, again, You never know. You don't
Actually,
know until you post it.
True. I'm going to interrupt you really quickly just because we had a good question,
Yep.
and we may need to include in tomorrow's update. But Dietz asked what are good sites to research to use auto parts pricing, and in particular early Mustangs. So obviously Kelley Blue Book is great for cars, but for parts instead, what would you recommend?
So it depends. If it's new or used. I mean, new ones are pretty easy because you can do your typical big chain places to find new stuff. Used stuff is a little bit tricky. I hate to say, use, competitors. I mean, obviously racingjunk.com, you can go to our website, you can do a search of whatever part it is. And when it comes to actual like websites dedicated just to parts, there's not many out there. And there's none that I can really give you right off the top of my head. What I typically tell my people to do is go to Racing Junk and do a search for that part. Go to places like either Craigslist or eBay and do a search for those parts. Because typically parts are being sold are used. And because they're used, the price points are going to be a little bit different, obviously. So what you really want to do, especially, and I probably didn't spend enough time on that page, but whatever website you ultimately choose, you're going to want to make sure that when you go to sell your item, you want to make sure that your item is priced appropriately for that website. So if you find if you're selling an engine on rate, and you want to sell on Racing Junk, go to Racing Junk and look up the engine. See if there's another engine being sold. Because if it is being sold for more or less of what you plan on potentially selling it for, you're going to want to adjust your price accordingly because maybe it's worth more on racingjunk.com. But checking out all those websites is going to give you your best price point. I don't really have, a good, used website that you can look up things in that manner.
One of our users suggested, and I hate to say this, but it probably is, that Hagerty's valuation tool. Obviously, we don't want to promote them, and it would be disingenuous to pretend they don't exist.
Well, again, I mean, there's certain websites that and again, I'm not going to sit here and lie that there aren't other websites that people can use. I'm just partial to Racing Junk. I think our community is awesome. I think our community is great. I think that our community understands that things are priced a certain way on our website because they understand that, there's a lot of grassroots people that use us, that there's a lot of people who are getting into the industry that might not be able to afford a new item. So there are websites like Hagerty. Like I said, I hesitate, saying like eBay or Craigslist or something like that, but ultimately, again, you're trying to set your price point. There's no reason why you shouldn't go to those websites to set your price point. Tomorrow I'm going to brag why our website is better than those websites anyways. But so yeah, you can use an eBay or a Craigslist to promote your, or to set your price point. But ultimately, again, you're just going to make sure whatever price point you find, use all those tools that we just went over to adjust your price accordingly. Because I also don't want you to make less money than you should. Because if you have added stuff, or you have inspected it and changed stuff, you want to make sure that price point is above, so you do get the money that your item's actually worth.
We have two more really quick questions, and one of them, which I'm going to add. So Mark asked, what resolution for images? The higher the better, but then you also want to submit them. So I'd say minimum of 72 dpi. If you're taking them with your phone, frankly, your phone is going to provide those images at the right resolution anyway. If you're not, but then there's one more that I thought you needed to answer before we have to go. Have there been more ads posting the last few weeks, or is it about the same?
No, we've seen an uptick, and we've also seen an uptick of new users coming to our website, which I think is a product of obviously the time a lot of people are home looking for stuff, but also it's a great time to sell stuff. People are home, they're looking, they're on websites like us. So we'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow in our session. And I hate to rush us off, but my thing is yelling at me saying we have less than 1 minute. So again, we're doing the same thing tomorrow at 3. If you didn't sign up for it, make sure you sign up for it. This thing's going to kick us off.